Welcome to your magic moon message, ladies and gentlemen. This is the peace dealer. Moon is in Sag. Sun is in Libra. Normally on the moon in Sag, it's usually a much brighter day. Not that there has to be a correlation with the moon transit and brightness, but that's very interesting. Albeit it'll probably look different relative to where you are. Let's do a pull-up thing. I'm gonna do the reverse grip pull-up so you can see I can do more than two, or I could do three of these, or possibly four. I gotta do the reverse pull-ups. I remember y'all told me about that. I definitely gotta do that. That was four, baby. Let me catch my breath. All right, I'm totally not out of shape. Anyway, yes, that was all right. All right. Anyway, so yes, we are activating. Had to catch my breath. We are activating this new moon cycle. And the moon is making a 60-degree angle to the beginning of Libra. Thankfully, as we activate this at the beginning degrees, it shows us development as we are aware of these social themes in its beginning stages. Okay, so we activated at the end of Virgo the mastery as we change our behavior. We've applied it directly through the moon in Libra to balance this application of our critical perspective. And then we intensified the depth of our psychoanalytical understanding to strengthen the wisdom of these social actions, developing deeper purity of our social awareness, extending deeper nuances we can understand relative to who can never fuck with us ever, because we really got okay, cool. And now the moon is in Sagittarius, and this is going to apply this deeper psychological understanding into a higher, bigger picture perspective. So Libra being the artist, right? I like to see Sagittarius as the palette with which that artist chooses the colors and starts to paint. Because I know from experience, every time I hear Libras talk, it's like they're painting a picture. They just know how to just make anything look colorful and like sound like a movie they're describing. That's incredibly vague. I don't think it's entirely as simple as that. But like, yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with this universal sense of their attitude. And now it's interesting because Libra is the first zodiac sign to have God level abilities. It's the first to have their third house in a universal sign. And this takes the balance and social representation and ascends universally. All right. This is what enables them to, relative to their attitude, unlike Cancer, who's going to have a more critical, like grounded attitude, Libra is going to have a much more bigger picture attitude to see, of course, now the higher meaning of an experience. And that's what the moon in its now 60 to 90 degree activation of this new moon space is going to do. Namely, we're not going to truly activate Libra until the new moon at the end of Libra, because the activation was technically at the end of Virgo. But in extension to this theme, we are now seeing what your superpowers are. You've activated it, you've manifested the strengthened quality of it, and now you are coming into a higher perspective of what meaning comes as a result of these actions you're socially defining and of this social awareness you're defining. And it's important to know I'm talking about social signs and being out there, but this has nothing to do with you being introverted or extroverted. This doesn't have to necessarily take place in social spaces. So it doesn't mean that this is the time of the period where you go out and you socialize. All of this could be done by yourself as an extension of how you socialize with yourself and how you develop your interpersonal relationship actions with others or with yourself. This could be done out with other people. It's just going to happen regardless. So the moon in Sagittarius is not only getting ready to show you now a bigger picture of what you're activating, but it's also having you experience the produced magic that comes from the power you've activated. Remember, we used the fan as an analogy. So the power you've activated, the energy through Scorpio that has generated energy from activating the power, and now the effect, the mutable effect, which in this case is the fixed mechanic producing wind. And in this case now, the moon in Sagittarius is going to show us this ascended effect of what we've activated. So this is where you're going to understand what you're beginning to see. This is a change. A mutable sign is going to change your perspective. So when the moon goes into Capricorn and now we start to apply this perspective cardinally, we're going to understand the grounded, tangible direction we feel that will support this Libran balance we've just activated. And that's what's going to begin to take the seeds we planted during the new moon. And when the moon's in Cap, it's going to break through the ground. We're going to start to see, oh, okay, this is where we're integrating over the next week. This is where we're taking it. This is where we're ready to push through, to break through full moon in Aries. So with that being said, why this is very badass is that now over the next 7 years coming into 2033, Uranus is going to be in Gemini. And now every time the moon is in Sagittarius, it's going to oppose Uranus in Gemini. It's going to closing sextile Pluto in Aquarius. It's going to closing trine Neptune in Aries. Now, after this season, Neptune's going to go back into Pisces. Uranus will make itself back into, in fact, by the end of Scorpio season, the opposition we will have at the end of Scorpio will be opposite Uranus at the end of Taurus. So the rest of the year is going to have these, once again, be in Taurus, but this is one of those sneak peeks where we're going to see what it's like to have a Uranus opposite moon in Sagittarius. And now every month where we, like the last 2 weeks ago, the moon was on Uranus in Gemini. And this is updating how much more innovating our thoughts are, how much more unconventional our thoughts are. And then through moon in Virgo, which begins to integrate this innovative thought process into our habits, moon in Sagittarius every 2 weeks from that conjunction is going to begin to show us what it looks like. Because it's one thing for me to tell you, oh yeah, you're unconventionally innovating your thoughts. You're thinking more evolutionary thoughts. Well, what does that mean? What does that look like? Boom. That's what you're going to see over the next few hours to a couple days. And this is going to, the whole purpose of this and sextiling Pluto. What is Pluto in Aquarius doing? It's awakening the supernatural potential of humanity. What is Neptune in Aries doing? It's reimagining how you apply this supernatural awakening and how you see yourself. Like going from some material, human, fleshly, caged being to now seeing yourself as a inner spark of the divine, seeing yourself as a droplet of this eternal ocean that exists with or without your body, right? And now what thoughts stem from this reimagination of self? This is Uranus, where with these three pillars over time are preparing for you to perceive the supernatural. The synchronization process that has been aligning and shifting for you to awaken to your potential is going to align for you to see phenomena that has always been in front of you, emanating from you, and that you've been co-creating with, but it's getting ready to upgrade the hardware and software that goes into, once again, you actually, tapping into these dynamics and creating through these dynamics. Okay? Man, are you serious? All right. I can probably just do one of these now because I did the other ones before. Damn it. I gotta hit 3 of them bitches. I can only do 2. And honestly, I might be a dirty 2. All right. Well, I know my goal from here on out. I'm gonna have a ninja montage and see if I can do 5 at some point. But it's cool. No, we're gonna do that. But it's cool. Yes. So that's just letting you know the opposition cycle. And then of course the moon will be in Pisces, square Uranus and Gemini. That's gonna close out the reasoning loop of what we believe before we do it again. Update now how much more evolutionary thing. So you're gonna be seeing supernatural magic. That was the whole purpose of me saying all this shit. Now that it's opposite Uranus and Gemini, as it's activating these superpowers during Libra season, you're going to be seeing the meaning of how this development of your consciousness is actively impacting your relationships with others, the actions you take with others, the way you are perceiving what you are doing and what is happening with other people. And of course, as we will close out the moon in Sag before it enters Cap, it's gonna square Saturn in Pisces. And it's going to make sure this reevaluation of your belief systems aligns with what you are currently seeing and how these visions support that. Because of course we did have the conjunction to Saturn 3 weeks ago, which activated this. We understood in Gemini, as we conjuncted Uranus, how we're integrating this innovation of our thoughts. And then we harvested with the moon in Virgo how we're behaving, which aligns with that. And so we're going to conclude with Sagittarius. It's going to show us this is what it looks like. Do we want to change that? We're going to do when we move that forward. Do we want to maintain that? We're going to do when we push forward. So there we go. And then, of course, Mars is still moving in Scorpio, concluding its 270-degree angle to Pluto in Aquarius, with which maybe I think 2 years ago or a year and a half ago it conjuncted in Aquarius. And that's going to really intensify your horniness, your desire, and now how you are transforming, how much deeper you can align your desire with this more extreme awakening of your higher mind and knowledge, while Venus will continue to polish, of course, in Virgo, these mastered habits and change of behavior near the South Node you are quite literally destined to unlock. That is so much jargon. If you're following me and you still get this, I appreciate you, and I understand if I've lost you. But yeah, Mercury is still in Libra, so our brains are processing the truth of these social interactions and how we are developing our character altruistically through this, that we will subsequently be aware of as the sun will catch up to where Mercury was. The sun will not catch up to Mercury. Mercury's going to reach Sagittarius retrograde and then meet in Scorpio with Venus. Then Mercury will catch up after the retrograde. So yeah, you guys enjoy that. You're going to be seeing your superpowers, what you're activating. Let's say in the analogy where you're going to be activating superpowers every year. So these don't have to be new abilities. This could just be a revisiting, a firmware updating, how well you apply your intellect, and you're going to be seeing the development of this social awareness that's going to pivot where we will begin to integrate all of this potency we are currently activating towards. All right, once the moon is in Capricorn, we're going to understand utilization of these new superpowers. So we're going to understand, of course, what integrity and control we take this vision we're developing and where we take that. So do look forward to your perspective completely shifting and really making sure it aligns with what you're meant to believe during this period. And don't get too caught up on people just showing you stuff randomly. You want the Venus and Virgo to polish whether it's real. The square with the moon and Venus is going to make sure that your vision is at least aligned with some semblance of factuality. Is that a word? Factuality? I'm using that word now. Factuality. I like that. Make sure it's aligned with some real shit, and so that, with a Pisces, with a Sag square like this, people can show you stuff entirely out of context. So you've seen it, but they're showing you what they want you to see. Just be very mindful of that, and it could really deceive people very quickly. So don't get too caught up on maybe the media storm that might whatever. And by the way, a lot of stuff that did come out 2 weeks ago when the moon was in Gemini, we're going to be coming into a higher meaning of what it all means. So be mindful of that too. You guys stay blessed as always. And until next time, Peace.